Are we good again? Badger fans, are we good again? Gard gets another guy in the portal. This one is really exciting. I like Xavier Amos. Let's talk about him. How's the roster come together? What is still needed? This is a really good pickup. Let's talk about it on Locked On Badgers. Let's go.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers. Thank you for listening. Thank you for helping us build this community. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you with a bunch of exclamation points just for showing up and being part of this. You make being a Badger fan better. I enjoy these shows because I get to interact with y'all, so thank you for that. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more, unless you're a Phoenix Suns fan. New customers get, that was not part of the ad read, but I'm going to throw that in there. New customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. What's up, Mitch? See him in the chat. Logan, what's going on, Logan? Brewers and Badgers, I love LOB. What's up, man? Appreciate all you guys. Derek After Dark says fire Gard. I don't know if this is the show for that one, man. And we got our boy Gabe in the chat, too. I love Gabe. Gabe's awesome. And we got Cannon. We got Cannon joining the show. Last time we talked, Cannon, I feel like you were on the edge, ready to fall off of it. And this is not over, and I'm not saying we're better than we were last year because we're not right now. But this is what I've consistently said. I want to see how the offseason plays out. Xavier Amos is a good player.
Yeah, it's definitely played out. I said that, it was going to be really, really, really hard for him to recover from what he was, just because I saw a lot of the good players on the portal, falling off the board. But Amos is a dog, and I am really excited to see what he brings us because, I am excited for him as I was for Store last year because he is long, athletic. He can get in transition. He's an elite spot-up shooter, not even spot-up, just shooter in general. And I think he will, help us in much more ways than what Wahl did last year because that's who he's bringing in to replace is Wahl. And I think he will provide us, better, especially his shooting. People are gonna have to go out on him. Last year, they didn't have to worry about that with Wahl. So I don't think he's better. I don't think he's a better overall player than Wahl, but he definitely can help us in more ways.
Yeah, let's talk about the game a little bit. So Nothern Illinois, 2 years of eligibility left, 6'8", about 215. Not a really He's not a power posted like 4. He's more of a stretch skilled 4, athletic 4. Really, really good shooter. Cannon talked about it. Digging into the film on Synergy, I was watching film with him today. He's in the 80 to 90 percentile on just about every shooting metric you can look for: catch and shoot, guarded jumpers, pick and pop. This is an elite, potentially elite shooter at the 4. Stretches defenses, shoots 38% on volume, more than 4 attempts per game. So this is a guy who is going to provide spacing, and that's something. Listen, it wasn't Wahl's fault. It's not like Wahl didn't want to be a good shooter, but when you combine Wahl and a reluctant 5 in Crowl that didn't want to shoot, you had spacing issues offensively. I think Amos solves that. Amos moving out, now Crowl, who is a good passer, has more space to operate. I really like his potential to simplify our offense and make it easier for our guards to find driving lanes and easier for Steven Crowl to have space to operate.
Yeah, that's going to I think this is going to help Steven Crowl tremendously because you can't double off him. You just can't. If he gets a spot-up shot, he's knocking it down the majority of the time. It's kind of like how Mason Gillis was for Purdue. You can't double off Gillis because
that's a good comp.
He's a 50% three-point shooter. So, in that aspect, it'll actually help us more because as much as people like to trash Crowl, when he gets time and space to go one-on-one, he's actually really good. So them not being able to double off and making him think a lot. And if they do double, then he has a kick out to a wide open shooter. And this helps us because now 1 through 5, I think we shoot. We're all good shooters. Maybe not all elite shooters, but we can all hit the 3. So this can help Crowl out amazingly.
Yeah, I love this. Zach Bart, sometimes people in the chat kill me, man. Zach Bart says, that's the hairstyle of a man who had his soul leave him after watching his team get swept. Man, let's leave my sons out of this. Let's leave my hair out of this.
I don't know what happened to them. They just fell apart.
Oh, dear Lord. Chat's killing me. Yeah, back to Amos, man. I think that's a great point with the spacing because Crowell's a good passer as a big. And suddenly you're going to surround him. We're going to talk about Tonje too, almost certainly coming like 99%. Cam Hunter is a decent shooter, but then you have Klesmit, you have Blackwell, Nolan Winter can shoot. You have the ability to surround, basically have all shooters on the court, which is something Wisconsin hasn't been able to do in years. You think back to the Johnny Davis team, there was no shooters on that team. And then for the last couple of years, it's been Tyler Wahl who hasn't been able to shoot. This is the first time you're really able to spread the floor, I think, with a bunch of shooters. Free Take coming in is going to be able to shoot as well. Jack Robeson, if he gets any burn, is a really good shooter. I think the offense is going to be more fluid. And here's the other one I want to give you that I think is really good with Amos. And this is something we talked about before the show. What have we been talking about for like years, Badger fans? Rim protection, secondary rim protection, somebody who can challenge a shot. This guy, his block percentage, his block rate is twice that of Tyler Wahl. He's going to give you weak side rim protection, challenge some shots, block some shots. That's another thing the Badgers needed to do.
Yeah, to hit on your Cam Hunter point, he shoots 31%, which is not terrible, but it's not a really good. But another thing is he's a better spot up shooter. So when Crowl has the ball in the post, if he's spot up, he actually shoots it at, I think, the numbers, I got 37% clip. A lot of his threes were taken like off the dribble. So actually that, I think he can be a better shooter just spotting up. And then Amos being a defender, yeah, like him and Wahl are the same height, I think. They're about 6'8", 6'9"-ish. But Amos is longer. He's more athletic and longer. So, him being able to jump and get blocks, especially weak side, like that, I think where a lot of his blocks are going to come from is somebody trying to wall up on Crowl or something, and Amos just coming and batting that thing away. So I love his addition defensively. He may not be the best defender, I guess, per se, but he's a good shot blocker, and that's all I care about.
Well, I want to talk about that in a second. And we have a comment here from Joseph S. Can Xavier provide any rim protection? The answer to that is yes. Rebounding and how is his D in general? I do want to get into the next segment, kind of what we're not getting with Xavier. I feel like we've spent quite a bit of time talking about how exciting it is with the athleticism, the range, what he can do offensively, shot blocking. There are some questions for me defensively and some things that I don't think he's going to be able to replace Tyler Wahl on. So I do want to get into that. Will Hanna says Hunter and Amos are both good players. Give the staff credit. These guys can play. I want to go here, man, and kick it to you first. A lot of people had written this thing off. Does this feel like good replacements for Hepburn? And you weren't on the show when I was talking about Camren Hunter. Does this feel like good replacements for Hepburn and Wahl to you?
I do, because I don't think Hunter is a better player overall than Chucky Hepburn is, but I think he provides you a little different. Like I think he's probably a better like scorer. He's probably a better pure scorer than Chucky was. He's not as good of a defender. So I think you'll have a little bit of drop defensively, but he'll give you more points. He'll give you more. I think he's a good passer too. So I think he'll give you more assists in that range. And like I said, I love the Amos. Like I think he'll come in and replace Wahl perfectly. He's not gonna score in the same way, but I think it'll help us tremendously more having him in the four and not Wahl. So both of them, I love both of them. And I think, people are going to get upset that they're both mid-majors, but to me, that's majority of what people are in the transfer portal now is people transferring up. You saw it last year with Don Connect. You saw it with Zay Jones, like Damask. Like these can be good players, and I expect them to be good players, and they will be key contributors.
Well, and that's something Tyler Strieber, a good friend of the show, hits on as well. Would you rather get the non-power 5 guy jumping up a level, or would you rather take somebody off like Duke's bench that hasn't played as much? I'll be honest. I think you just need an eye for talent and fit. I think both can be successful is my point. We've seen a ton of examples of lower level guys jumping up. I mean, being all conference guys at power 4 levels. And we've also seen examples of guys buried on benches of blue bloods transferring somewhere else and being successful. I just think you can get good players from either. And getting non-power 5 guys doesn't really bother me, especially when you see the film and the metrics behind a guy like Xavier Amos.
I agree. Yeah, you can go and get somebody from like a Duke bench that, hadn't seen the floor yet. But I'm also a big believer in being able to see what you're going to get, them going actually out there and playing and giving you, tape to watch. So when you get somebody like, off a Duke bench or off a Blue Bloods bench that hasn't played, you don't really know what you're going to get because you haven't seen anything. So can they be good? Yes. Will they? You don't know.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Gabe Ramos says exactly. Crowl will be way better with Amos than he was with Wahl. I feel like Gabe Ramos is excited again. He was off the bandwagon. I feel like we brought him back in along with a lot of other people. I think this is a really good pickup. The work can't be done. We're going to take a quick break there, come back, talk more about what's coming up next in the portal, and also kind of what maybe worries me about with Xavier Amos and Camren Hunter. That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. But first, a quick break for our friends of the show. A quick second to say thank you to everybody tuning in for these shows. If you want to get any type of entertainment, if you want to go to a show, if you want to go to a concert, if you want to go hit the theater up, if you want to go watch your favorite sports team, you got to check out Gametime. It is the number one source for all your ticketing needs. Listen, no more trying to plan things out months in advance, worry about logistics. How are you going to get the train fare to get to the arena, to find the guide, to get the ticket, to get the money? Gametime simplifies all of this, right? Last minute flash sales, the best prices, the biggest inventory. Heck, let's go. Whoever's in the chat, let's get some Gametime tickets together. Let's go to something together. We'll do it on Gametime. We'll save money, and we will have it effing blast. Go download Gametime. Download the Gametime app today. Use code LOCKEDON for $20 off the best tickets, the lowest prices, the biggest inventory. Do it over at Gametime. Today's episode also brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. Listen, I've talked about it. FanDuel is who I go to when I want to lose money on the Phoenix Suns. It's the easiest way for me to place bets that don't cash out. It's the easiest way for me to put the over on Bradley Beal scoring more than 9 points and then losing that money. I do that on FanDuel because it's simple and it's easy and it's fast. Go over to FanDuel.com/lockedon. They have spreads, parlays, futures, teasers. It's all there. It's the easiest way to win money on your favorite teams or lose money with me. Do it over at FanDuel. FanDuel.com/lockedon, the official sports betting partner of the Locked On Network. All right, let's get back into this. Get Cannon back on the show. Talk a little bit about, listen, sport. I'll say this, and Badger fans can relate to this. Like, this is a universal truth in sports. It hurts more than it feels good usually, right? Unless you're a Yankees fan or, I don't know, fill in the blank for a couple different franchises out there. It hurts more than it feels good, and Badger fans can certainly commiserate with that. I want to talk a little more about Amos, man. I'm going to kick it over to you to start this. I'll put you on the spot here. Is there anything that worries you about the Amos pickup or the Hunter pickup?
Both of them defensively aren't the best. Like I said, Cam Hunter, he's not the best on-ball defender, but it's mostly him being flat-footed a lot of times. And I think that Gard and him coming here will clean that up. So I think he will be a better on-ball defender than what you've seen. Amos isn't the best on-ball defender. You get a bigger, more athletic four on him. You're probably going to blow past him. He's not the best. And he's not he's like I said, he's a smaller frame. I think he'll add some pounds, but he still has a smaller frame. So some of the bigger fours in the Big Ten, or even just in general, I think they will kind of bully him in the post. Mm-hmm. But like I said, his shot blocking ability will make up for some of those mistakes.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think it's weird, right? Because last year's team was pretty bad defensively, but I feel like individually we're still getting worse somehow. But we really can't get much worse than we were last year. I think Hunter's a worse defender than Chucky. And
he is. Oh, he's 100% is the worst defender.
Yeah. And Xavier's not Tyler Wahl defensively either. And outside of a certain Illinois matchup last year, Tyler Wahl is pretty darn good defensively. And Amos is a guy in the Big Ten who's going to get bodied a little bit in the post, I think. That's something you mentioned. Wahl's a little bigger, a little stronger, a little more experienced. The analytics don't look favorably upon Xavier Amos when you jump into synergy, and I'm going to dive more into that. We're going to do a big breakdown of his game. I think defensively there's issues here, with both him and Hunter.
Now, I will say, though, I think that it also gives us different, matchups. Last year, Store being so bad defensively put us in so many bad matchups because we couldn't let him guard. I don't think Amos gets abused like Wahl did against Damask. I think Amos matches up better against Damask than Wahl did. Like I said, Amos is more athletic. He's faster than Wahl. So, us matching up Wahl on a point guard, I don't think was a good matchup at all. So, yeah, he'll definitely be outmatched in certain matchups, but I also feel like it will give us, certain matchups that will actually favor us.
That's a good point with Store, and I've talked about this before. For all the things you're losing with Store, and there's a lot, right? You're losing a lot of shot creation with Store. You're losing free throw attempts with Store. I think you're gaining. I think he put the team in cross matches that they didn't want to be in last year because he wasn't willing to step up and take the defensive challenges. That's not calling him out. There's a reason why, Chucky Hepburn is having to guard more athletic, bigger guys, and Klesman is. It's because Store wasn't taking those dudes. I think you take him out of the mix defensively, the ecosystem gets better, and guys probably play up instead of playing down. That's just
another thing with the Store free throws. Cam Hunter gets to the free throw line a lot, and that's another thing I feel like he can replace. Is Store got to the line quite a bit, but Cam Hunter will. I know he will. He likes to drive it. He's a bigger physical guard. He will draw fouls and he will get to the line, and he shoots a pretty good clip from the line too. So that's another way I feel like we're gonna moneyball this. Okay, we're gonna get a little bit of here, a little bit of there.
Like put it all together. Badgerman says to me, we still need a big 6'10" guy. I wish we could get a physical This is something again, Ken and I were talking about before the show. This team would be much better if they could get a brute at the 5 that can come in for 5 to 10 minutes. I just don't know if you can find that guy.
I think we're trying to get somebody from Hawaii. I know we've been talking. Like I said, I wish we get a backup 5 and move Winter over to the 4. I think Winter slots a lot better in the 4. But I just don't know. Who knows? I don't think we have any scholarships left, so we're gonna have to do some movement around there if we want to get another guy. So I would love to have that. Like you said, I think we're okay without it, but I feel like that would help us tremendously.
Yeah, it definitely would. And you look at the roster and you're thinking that could have been a Gus Yalden, but he's gone. It could have been we've missed on a couple bigs, right? You even look at the roster right now, Hodges, but they just haven't developed it, and it's frustrating.
I do like Ilver though. I personally do like Ilver. That's one thing that I did like when he was in over Wahl is he didn't shoot the ball very well last year, but he can definitely shoot the ball. And he definitely did provide spacing for Crowl. And I think give him more minutes, you'll see his percentages go up a little bit because he gets more time, more in a rhythm. So Ilver's another guy in the 4 slot that I like to watch. Give him maybe 10, 15 minutes a game. So I think there's some pieces that are there, but I would feel a lot more comfortable with, getting somebody out of the portal.
Yeah. And to your point, like Ilver, I don't mind it. I think the ship has probably sailed on the Ilver experience, to be honest. If he comes out and plays great, awesome. Like I don't root for anybody to fail, but I think that ship has probably sailed. But even if that ship comes into port, let me dig into my Navy analogies here. Even if he comes into port, he's still not that physical guy you want in the front court. He's a stretch 4.
Yeah.
And we saw it last year. Crowl can get bullied. He can get overpowered against physical, athletic guys, and we didn't have anywhere to turn with that. Now, I will point this out. Nolan Winter fought his ass off in a lot of those matchups. He just wasn't physically ready. He's going to put on, unless there's something wrong, he's going to put on 10, 15, 20 pounds this offseason of muscle. That could
Another thing is a lot of times, especially the portal, you're not going to find a bigger physical center that's going to want to come in and be a backup. A lot of them are going to want to come in and start. So I do think that one of the problems we have, especially with our bigs, is Crowl and Winter don't really have a lot of they're tall, but they're not like lengthy in terms of their arms. Their arms aren't long. So, Crowl got these little T-Rex arms. He can't really block very many shots. So I don't think bringing in necessarily a bigger brute to come in. I think more of get somebody with length, get somebody that's, has long arms. That will help. That will help block shots a lot.
You know what I think is honestly more important? This is just me. And by the way, Lord Croy still not convinced, says, no, we're not good. We won't be good with Gard running this program. Listen, there's people that are off their train, and I don't ever tell anybody how to fan. That's a fair perspective. I like these last 2 pickups, and I'm starting to come over to the side of we might be kind of sneaky good next year. Don't kill me, guys. I'm just telling you.
We could be. That's not a crazy thing to say.
I feel like some people are going to think it is, and we're not done. We're still going to talk about Tonje and talk a little bit about what else is coming here. But listen, totally fair if you're not buying into this. You can certainly make the argument that you've replaced a guy that went to Kansas and a guy that went to A guy that was here for 5 years, played a bunch of basketball, and a guy that went to Louisville with guys from Central Arkansas, Northern Illinois. Like, that's a fair perspective to have and feel like we downgraded. I think the fits might be better, even if the individual talents are not quite up to that same tier.
I agree. That's one thing that people aren't going to look at is, oh, maybe the individual talents are better, but you're right. Maybe the fits are better. And a lot of things are fits. Does a team or does a player fit in a certain role? That's why I think Alabama was so good this year. They had a lot of talent, but a lot of the guys they got fit in their system. They're good 3-point shooters. They get the ball up and they're solid. Think of a team like Houston. They get players that aren't necessarily the most talented, but they fit in their system. Like Amos, I think would fit in a Houston system amazingly. That's just he'd be like their athletic center that they have. Oh, they always seem to have an undersized athletic center, and that's just how they play because they play a really fast brand of defense. So it's all about fits at the end of the day. Can a player fit in your system and excel that system?
Derek After Dark says Ryan is talking crazy. Steve Schweitzer says Ryan, stop the unrealistic hype. I listen. This isn't like I'm not saying this is going to win the Big Ten. I just think we could be sneaky good. But listen, fair. We're gonna take a quick break, come back, talk a little bit about another player that could be coming in, and continue just taking your comments, talking Badgers basketball. See where everybody's at on the believe or not believe meter. One more quick break for our friends of the show over at Monopoly Go. Maybe we'll fire up a Locked On Badgers Monopoly Go, give away something for that. That'd be a lot of fun because you've all been there, right? You've all played the classic board game. You've all thrown the die, everything riding on this one roll. Please, for the love of everything that I believe in, do not land on that hotel in Park Place. And you land on a hotel and you look across the board and your buddy CJ, who is no longer your friend, is taking all your money. Not that has ever happened to me. Monopoly Go is the modern twist on the classic board game. It's downloaded over 150 million times. It's incredible. It's fun. It is the ability to team up with your friends, climb leaderboards, play against them, play across a bunch of dynamic boards. Go check out Monopoly Go right now. Get back out there. Put your game face on. Download Monopoly Go now free on the App Store or Google Play. Let's bring Cannon back in here. Talk about any other comments that you have as well. I want to really quick, Cannon, go to this hype train thing. I think these are good fits. And the thing of it is, if you find good fits, Greg Gard and this Badger program has shown that they can coach those fits into spots where you're going to win 60-something% of your games. I just don't think if you still add Tonje, John Tonje, who we want to talk about from Mizzou, I think you've brought in 3 guys who space the floor, who shoot pretty well. And I think with the addition of Frite, growth from Blackwell and Winter, I'm telling you right now, that's probably going to be a top 5 or 6 team in the Big Ten. It probably is.
It is, and I know a lot of people like to hate on Gard, and a lot of their hate is that he's not the best with roster construction. He's not the best with recruiting, but he's a good X's and O's coach. When it comes down to it, drawing up plays and making adjustments. We know people a lot think he doesn't make adjustments, but he makes adjustments. He does. He's a good X and O's coach. So if we get pieces that fit our system, I think we do well because Gard is a good X's and O's coach. He can draw up good plays to get to fit our team and what we're good at. And with Tonje, he's another. I like Amos. He's an elite shooter. He was injured this past year at Mizzou, so he didn't really get the full experience. But when he was at Colorado State, he shot, I think, 36 or 37% from 3. He's an elite shooter, especially a spot-up shooter. So he will draw a lot of attention, especially on defense, a lot of attention from opposing guards. And like I said, that's just going to space the floor more, give Crowl more room to work, give drivers better lanes to drive in. So I like the pieces we're adding. I do. And I think, like you said, 4th, 5th, 6th place in the Big Ten is not crazy to say.
I think it's an optimistic take. I'll give people that. And this thing, by the way, this thing could go off the rails too. There's a chance next year we're again really bad defensively, and offensively we struggle without the rim pressure that AJ Storr could put on people. There's a chance. Cam Hunter is an injury risk. He missed all of last year with a broken foot. Right there's risk to this. This is not like a guaranteed lock, but I think there's upside with some of these players. And I'm interested to see how the rest of this offseason continues to come together. And by the way, you're not just adding these guys, you're adding Freitag in the mix as well. I think he's going to play 20 minutes a game and give you something off the bench athletically that you didn't have last year.
Another thing is if you want to pick the, Cam Hunter maybe being injury risk, well, so is Daniel Freitag. He just came off of foot surgery as well. So is Kamari McGee. He also just came off of foot surgery as well. So maybe there's some foot bug in our program. I don't know if you just like, people with foot injuries, but, I don't. That's why I don't like the argument for the injury risk, because people are hype about Daniel Freitag. Well, he did just come off of a foot injury too. So that I don't think that argument holds much weight in terms of being upset about the player. But I don't think that should be too much of a worry. But like I said, I do like all of the additions that we've had.
Yep. Anything else that you look at on this roster right now and you say, I'm pretty sure we're getting Tonje, Freitag coming in. Is backup 5 your biggest question mark? Is it point guard with Camren Hunter having to jump up? What's your biggest concern on the roster when you bring all this together?
I'm going to do this in two perspectives. I'm going to do my favorite part of the roster, and I'm going to do my least favorite. I'll start with my least favorite. I'd want a backup 4 or 5, like someone in that range, a longer range here, maybe someone that can come in and be more physical than Crowl is. I just think that's something that we've always needed, no matter what, since Ethan Happ. That would help us in ways that like we really needed last year. And then my favorite part is I love our guard depth, because you think of, okay, well, Daniel Freitag, yeah, he's a point guard, but he's also a combo guard. He can play the 2. So let's say someone like Klesman or Blackwell goes down. Well, now you slide McGee back to the backup point guard, and you slide Daniel Freitag over the 2. That versatility with a lot of our Cam Hunter can do the same thing. He can slide over if he needed him to. So the versatility with our 1 and 2 guards. And even if you needed to, you could slide Blackwell over to the 3. I think he'd be a little undersized, but his, tenacity and his physicality, he can play the 3 if we needed him to. So that whole guard group, I love it. I love everything about it, especially the depth.
Yeah, Will Hanna says they are great fits. It gives Gard the opportunity to use various lineups, not just because he's giving someone a rest. I think I'm most concerned about post defense, post interior rebounding. I'm worried teams like Purdue, Michigan State, the more physical Illinois, the last couple of years are going to just beat us up in the post still. And I think that's where you miss. Listen, for all of Wall's at times offensive issues with spacing, his inability to shoot, he played really hard, had a really strong rebounding rate. I think we could get bodied a little more than we're used to. And that's where, again, you mentioned shot blocking at the 5. That's where I think there's just a physicality missing in the interior of this team, where if you just had a 6'8", 250-pound guy who could come in and just knock the crap in a legal sense of the way, but knock somebody down, box them out hard. I think this team is missing that. And I think they downgrade in that interior going from Wahl to Amos.
Yeah, Wall's rebounding is really good. It's probably his most underrated aspect. I can't count the amount of times that he got a clutch offensive rebound by boxing somebody out. There's a lot of second chance points that he got this year that we really needed. And I don't think we have another person on this team that can help. Now, for rebounding as a whole, AJ Storr being 6'6", he was not a good rebounder. He always wanted to go up and get a poster on somebody, but he just wasn't a good rebounder. Johnny Davis, he had almost 8 rebounds a game as when he was smaller and less athletic than Storr. And I feel like somebody like Tonje is going to come in and he'll be more apt to go up and get a rebound. Storr averaging he averaged 2 rebounds a game. That just you can't have that from a 6'7" wing. You need him to get in there and get some dirty rebounds. So I think in one aspect of the rebounding, we will get much worse. But I think in another aspect of rebounding, we might get a little better.
Yeah, no, it's possible. Certainly Storr, you compare his athleticism to like a Johnny Davis, and Storr is more athletic. But Johnny Davis got 7 boards a game, and that's just hard. And that's just like give a crap. Charles Barkley has a famous rebounding quote. He says, people talk about rebounding technique. I have a technique. It's called go get the damn ball. And
just go get it.
Just go get the ball. And that's what Johnny Davis had heart. That's something his team did not have enough of last year. And hopefully these guys inject a little bit of it. All right, he is Cannon L. We always like to talk basketball with him. For everybody in the chat, thank you guys so much. We'll throw a couple comments in here at the end. Let's see. Steve Kneebone says we need another 4 and a backup 5. You're not going to get 2 more post players because it's listen, in a perfect world, yes. But you're just not going to get people who are going to come in and sit on the bench in the portal. That's not how it works.
Yeah. After Tonje, I personally do think we might add 1 more player. I don't know where it's going to be at, but we're definitely not getting 2 more. We just, not only do we not have the scholarships for that, we just don't have, I don't know, we don't have the space for it. So in a perfect world, that'd be perfect, but I just don't see it happening.
Brett Fishley says, joining late, this team can finally space the floor. Guard era thus far has been defined by having a non-shooter on the floor. Yeah, you're not going to have a non-shooter next year. Now, again, I think there's other weaknesses that this potentially opens up, and we're going to talk about that. This is not perfect. But we're going to wrap it up there. We're going to do a deep dive on all these games, jump into the analytics, really look at situationally what they do well defensively and offensively. I'll get a better scope of that. If you're in the chat, thank y'all so much, as always, for jumping in. Really do appreciate y'all. Cannon, appreciate you, man. On Wisconsin, and we'll talk later.